All right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope everyone is doing well. I know that everyone is a great big ball of nerves ever since Tuesday. So I want to welcome everyone here. And I've been sitting here, reading some of the comments and, seeing we already had a couple of trolls that we're going to try to make it all about them. But we've got some good moderators. We'll keep that under control. And we want everybody to just sit back and really enjoy the show. I'm truly excited today to be bringing on this next guest. He's one of my favorite voices out there. And we've actually talked about him on the channel before. If for those of you that saw the episode with me and Coach D, we referenced a video that he had made. I can't remember exactly which one it was back then, but we referenced it and we talked about how that when he's talking, we both just like to sit back and listen. So I'm so excited today to be bringing to the show my good friend TJ. TJ, man, how's it going?
Brandon, how's it going, man? I just heard you. I realized I didn't let you answer. How's it going? How's it going, man?
It's going good.
You ever do that? You meet someone. I noticed this when I was a kid that you would talk to people and you pass them on the street. Like say someone you don't know or you don't know very well, and they come and was like, "Hey, man, how you doing?" He's like, "Doing all right. What's up?" And you guys don't answer. You just walk right past each other. I was like, that's a weird little social norm we have where we ask questions and don't expect an answer. Or if you give an answer, it's like, okay, I didn't really want that much. I was just being polite and stuff. But
exactly.
You were talking about you and Coach D discussed the video, and I was trying to figure out what it was because Coach D messaged me a couple of weeks ago about a video. Yeah, I think it was about Fort Bragg and Fort
may have been.
Okay, all right. Yeah, he was asking about that.
Yeah, but we were talking. Yeah, he's a great dude, man, and we're really glad to have you today because there's so much to talk about, and I don't know if you've experienced this, but I've sort of I've been thinking about how to go about my content going forward, and I got to be brutally honest with you. Leading up to that, I was talking about how that I really felt it was going to be MAGA that was going to have to be rebranding. I thought they were going to be the ones that was going to have to be reflected and trying to come up with a new strategy, and the script got flipped, and it's on us. So how are you going about now that we're moving forward? What kind of changes, if any, are you bringing to your content or your approach? I guess I should say.
Yeah, the shoe is on the other foot. It's just kind of I don't know. This is all right. What I tell people, I had to talk a lot of people, not off the ledge or whatever, but people were asking about it yesterday, like friends of mine. And I said to them the exact same thing I said in 2016 when Donald Trump won, is that it's okay to be discouraged. It is okay to be discouraged. It is not okay to stay that way. That's the best way that I can look at this. That feeling your emotion, you're upset, you're disappointed, you're scared, fine. Feel it, experience it, move the fuck on. Oh, I'm sorry. Can I swear?
Right.
Okay.
Go ahead. No, you're good.
Oh my God. I can ask if I can swear on the show. Sorry. I'll try
no
not
problem.
to do it.
No, you're good.
But yeah, that's how I see it. Because here's on Tuesday morning, when I got up, I thought to myself, okay, if Donald Trump loses this election, that's great. But the next day, I'm going to get up, I'm going to get to work and start spreading leftist agitprop. That's what's going to happen. If Donald Trump wins this election, I'm going to get up, go to work, start spreading leftist agitprop. Doesn't change a thing. The only thing that changes is how difficult it actually gets. So if you see your message and you see a flaw in it, you see in the delivery, which is what I think the Democrats as a whole need to do, is focus on their messaging. I think that's how I plan to move forward. I don't mean anybody else though.
Yeah, and I made a video. It's going to be a little bit earlier today, so I'll kind of give a little spoiler to those that are watching. But I was talking about how that I really feel like that and I don't want to be at this point. I don't want to be like pointing the finger and blaming people. I don't really want to take that approach. But I just really feel like that the mainstream media definitely didn't do us any favors because they spent so much time, crucifying Joe Biden for his speech and for his stutter. And if he's tripped and stumbled at all, that's what they spent time talking about. Whereas people like you and me and voices on our side, we were bringing the stories and we were breaking them down, what could affect people if this happened. And Democrats never seem to ever engage with people like us. You don't see them. I saw Brian Tyler Cohen talking about how that he would spend weeks trying to get people to come on his show, like politicians, and he take weeks. But then they'll go on a news channel that has done them no favors, and they'll sit there and talk with them, and they'll bait them into talking about something that don't matter, and then they come off looking even more like the bad guy. So I really feel like that going forward, I just want to do a better job of explaining and breaking things down as to what could happen, as opposed to just showing a clip of Trump doing something over the top ridiculous, because he's just going to continue to do that. That's his
Yes.
stick,
Yeah. Yeah. The problem with this with us is a lot of this is outside of our control. It's something that we can't really do anything about, because what the Democrats need to do, you guys won't listen to me for once. What the Democrats
Yeah.
need to do is realize it's not 1996. That's what they got to realize. The world and the media sphere and the American voting populace has moved well past that. The Republicans get it. I remember seeing this thing. Like I don't know if it's true today, because it's been 4 or 5 years since I saw this, but the average congressman for Republican was like 51, and the average congressman Democrat was around 70. It's just that they were actually the younger party, and they were more in touch with how media has changed. And we could make fun of Donald Trump all we want for going on Aiden Ross or one of the Paul brothers or whatever.
Yeah.
It was a good idea. The Democrats are more entrenched in, hey, this Wall Street Journal article will be really important to get out there. So it's like, man, you got to move on from that. You have to realize
exactly.
Exactly.
I felt that way. I'm not a fan of those podcasts, but I remember, there was a clip I seen of Joe Rogan explaining, and I think the clip was something like, it was called like Rogan explains why Kamala Harris didn't come on. Well, the way that he presented it, I thought, because he was like, he's like, she wanted me to come to her and I would go to people. And, he talked that way. He's like, and I just wanted to sit down and have a normal conversation with her. And she wanted to have a bunch of people sitting around, and all this. And I'm going, okay, now you're a young dude sitting there listening to that. You saw Donald Trump come on, even though, he may not have ever give a clear cut answer to anything. He sat down and engaged with Joe Rogan for 3 hours. And there was a lot of bros out there watching him do that.
Yep.
And then they turn into that platform, and it's like, well, we tried to get Kamala to come on here and she wasn't here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. John and I did a segment about this, and I posted a little clip of it on my TikTok. Power's taken, not given on TikTok, by the way. And I posted it and got a lot of heat for it. But what John and I said was that this is before the election. We said Harris needs to go on Joe Rogan. She needs to do it. It is millions of dollars in free advertisement. First off, Joe Rogan Joe Rogan is not someone that we would consider like allied with our cause, whatever. Not an antagonistic interview, Joe Rogan. Like Joe Rogan's not going to get there and pin you down on policy. He doesn't know it, but he's just going to ask weird, goofy questions and everything. And also, the Harris campaign had talked for months about how the young male demographic is really suffering. It's like, that is a perfect opportunity to present yourself. You're probably not going to win most of them, but you could win some. It could at least lay the groundwork for something. And about Joe Rogan, you mentioned him. I've been saying this for years, and I actually stole this from Michael Brooks, so I can't really take credit for it. May he rest in peace. But I remember him mentioning something that I couldn't agree with more, that Joe Rogan is a perfect example of the median American voter. He is just someone who isn't openly malicious. Like if you listen to if you're on lefty media, you see the horrible stuff Joe Rogan says. Yeah, I get why you have a horrible opinion of him. I don't have a particularly high one myself. But when you hear Joe Rogan talk, he will say stuff that makes a lot of sense. It's like, oh yeah, this universal healthcare thing, that sounds pretty cool. He was really cool with Bernie's platform and everything. Now you ask him specifics about policy. He's like, yeah, I don't like high taxes though, but universal healthcare is great. That's your median American voter. That's someone who has like backward, bigoted ideas at times, some good ideas that are inscrutable. They don't make any sense meshed together, but that's the people we have to market to. And trying to market to us is great. But they already got us. All right, you need to expand it.
Yeah, exactly. You need to step outside of that, and I don't know what it would have done necessarily as far as bringing in people to the Democratic Party, but I think if they'd have just seen it, it's the framing that took place afterwards, because it's like, well, Vance and Trump went on there, and and again, that's not me pointing fingers at anyone or blaming anyone. I saw someone say, "Stop blaming the Democrats." I think what me and TJ is doing here today, we're not blaming the Democrats necessarily as much as we're just reflecting on what has happened. And when you reflect on what's happened, you do have to address things that you could have did better. There's times you do have to put the blame on yourself.
Well, so what I was going to ask is like, well, who do you want us to blame, people? I mean, honestly, like because Here's the thing. Politicians are not your friends. They're not your buddies. They're not your family. They are public servants who are going through with the task, trying to earn a vote. And if they don't get enough votes to win, I've seen a lot of this. I don't know if you run across this. Actually, I haven't asked you about it, so hopefully you agree with me here. Why wouldn't you? But I've seen a lot of, well, it's the voters' fault, because we had 15 million, at least last I saw, fewer voters for Democrats this election than we had last election for Harris or for the presidency. And a lot of folks are just going off on these tirades saying these horrible voters. I can't believe these voters didn't show up. Listen, blaming the voters is a useless argument. Like, what am I supposed to do with that? Because if you're a politician, or if you're a political movement, not just the politician, your goal, your job is to sell your vision. And this vision is how you're going to make the American people's lives better. If the customers don't buy your product, you can't show up for your evaluation saying, oh, well, I had a good product, but the customers didn't buy it. It's their fault, not mine. No, you got to change that message, or us and everyone involved there. It's not, I just don't see the value of a conversation ender of saying the voters are just bad. Because look, let's say the voters are bad. Let's say they are. Let's say the voters are stupid. Let's say they're bad. Let's say they're illogical. All right, good to know, but you still got to go get those votes next time. What's your plan to get them? Because if you just stop the conversation with saying, I guess the voters are just bad, it conveniently doesn't require any work from you. It doesn't at all. You're going to sit back and say, I did everything right. I'm going to do the same thing again, and hopefully it'll work this time. I don't think it will.
Yeah, and all that does too is pushes voters away. It definitely doesn't inspire them to want to vote the next time. There's so many people out there that didn't vote this go around, and there's a whole lot of people out there that's lost faith completely in the system. And so if you've got people who have lost faith in the system and doesn't believe it works for them, and then you tell them it was their fault because they didn't show up, it's like it's only going to push them away further, and it's going to sow more and more distrust in the whole system. So you have to find a way to bring them back into the fold and explain this is why you should have voted, because this is what was riding on the line. And I think if they could, if we could get to a point of messaging like that, I think we would have a lot better results. Because again, it's just pushing people away when you try to turn it and blame it on them.
Yeah, it doesn't get you anywhere. I get the sentiment. I understand that feeling, and you can't control whether or not you're upset. That's an emotion. That's involuntary. But what you do after that's what it is. It's coming to this discussion and complaining about how bad or how stupid or how misogynistic or how racist the voters are. All right, that's step one. I'm not interested in step one. What is step two? What is your plan to change this so we can get it? And there was districts like Rashida Tlaib's district. I saw this morning, went plus 32 for Rashida Tlaib. It went plus 7 for Trump. I mean, just like this wild stuff that you can't just blame on the race and the gender of the I almost said applicant. What is it called? The person running for office, candidate. The candidate. Thank you. Word I've never used before. I'm just stuck on it like that. But yeah, it's the Democratic Party has to change a lot of its message. We talk about this all. Actually, whenever I talk about you, I talk about all the time. You and Todd is that. I know that it's kind of problematic to say that, we don't, I'm not going to say it, focusing on the language, like the language of the American left, the American Democrats, is like horrendously academic and confusing and strange to a lot of folks. And just, I hate to say about Donald Trump is that Donald Trump talks more normal. I'm not saying he does, but he talks more like people that people know than any politician I've ever seen, honestly. If you saw a person in real life talk to you the way that, Kamala Harris talks to you or Joe Biden talks to you on stage, you would be creeped out by them. Like, that's odd. Why are you acting that way? I guarantee Trump sounds the same on stage as he sounds to his friends, like the exact same guy. And that works for people. Like, just speaking, even your cadence and your timbre could do wonders. And once again, not 1996 anymore.
Exactly. And I thought back on it a lot back when I was working a day job back last year, and I was making $14 an hour. And the people I worked around, I think about the language that they talked and how we communicated. And back then, working alongside them, if I came at them and started talking about democracy or talking about, whatever argument I wanted to make that day, it would always be like, yeah, but yesterday I went to the grocery store and the bills was outrageous.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And it was people. We were struggling to get by. We were struggling to make it. So if if I show them a clip of Trump, going down on a microphone stand, I mean, it's ridiculous and it's over the top, and no reasonable person should ever vote for it. But they look at it from the angle of, why should I care? I don't care. I'm just struggling, and they feel like that the Democrats are in power, so it must be the Democrats' fault. And then you've got again, going back to the podcasters, you've got all the right wing podcasters, you've got the right wing media, you've got the churches, which I consider right wing media. You've got all of them feeding them on a daily basis that Democrats are the devil themselves, And so when the devil himself stands up and lays out a really good specific plan, it doesn't necessarily hit as much as just the most. And again, I want the listeners to understand in the comment section here that we're not saying that Trump is a genius or that
no,
that not at all. We're not saying that he's smart. It's just that type of rhetoric, it appeals to someone who is struggling, and it's easier for them to get behind it. It's easy. And it's also easier. I hope this makes sense. It's easier for him to fire up a group of people like that than it is for Democrats to fire up people like us. Because if I said to you, "Hey, TJ, man, let's go do this. Let's go storm the Capitol. Let's run."
I know.
You would be going, "No, dude, no, I'm not with you." If I said that to Todd or Coach D or anyone, if I tried to rally you guys, we would all stop and we would all have a different opinion and different take on it. So that's not who the MAGA crowd is. They're a crowd of people who are all moving forward. And any cliche he says that we look at and go, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard, their grocery bill's high, and that's all they're thinking of. And that's very true. I saw someone commented, roll by here a while ago. They said that, stop saying Trump talks like a normal person. We didn't say he talks like a normal person. We said he talks more like a normal person than your standard politician. Your standard politician talks like a machine. Okay. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what we're saying. It's like, it's stilted. It's full of focus grouped language. It's like the weird way they stand and point with their thumb. But Tim Walz actually did a good job of speaking like a genuine person. He did.
But most people who go through politics for 10, 20 years, that is how they present themselves to the public, because it's the safest way without getting yourself. Donald Trump doesn't care if you attack him. He doesn't. He's going to say what he thinks, and that genuine, not honest, but that genuine nature of, hey, this is how I am all the time. It's why people like Bernie Sanders so much. It's pretty useful.
Yeah, and Tim Walz is a great point. Also Andy Beshear out of Kentucky is one. The governor of Kentucky is one that when he talks, I always go back to Andy because he's been able to win re-election in blood red Kentucky.
Yeah,
I mean and I'll tell you why he's able to do that is because he knows how to talk to Kentucky people and people in Appalachia. He knows how to talk to them in a manner that they're still fearful of him because he's a Democrat, and they're worried about the fact that he's a Democrat, but he's got a way of going about speaking to them that it's like he's one of them. And I've talked with like police officers that's like worked events that he was at and stuff, and they're like, man, I don't agree with his politics, but like he's one of the most down to earth dudes ever, and that right there can really go a long way. So and again, we're not saying Trump talks like a normal guy. What we're saying is he talks like the guy down at the factory. That's what made me think back to the factory. I used to stand on the loading dock in this factory, man, and I would hear some of the most off the wall, harebrained comments I had ever heard. God. You know what I mean? I would, and I would be like, oh God, how can you say this out loud? But Trump appealed to that type of person. He appealed to that type of person. That's what it is that we're trying to get across.
Yeah.
Not that we think Trump's in any way
right.
smart.
Yeah. It's not. Yeah. Trump is incredibly dim-witted, and so we're not saying you don't even have to dumb stuff down. You don't really need to. You can talk about the same exact things. Just speak like you speak with your friends. Honestly, it's like Bernie Sanders speaks at a high level. He probably speaks. I mean, he probably doesn't speak exactly does this with like he's writing a paper. Probably like a college level. Bernie Sanders speaks at, but he seems like a genuine person when he's on stage for the most part. He has a little politician in him, but that's what we're talking about. That like barbershop conversations. Did you see when Trump went to that black barbershop in like New Jersey or something like that? Yeah. And oh my God, the stuff that they were saying, he was talking about how America was at its greatest during the Gilded Age under William McKinley. First off, props to Trump. Did not expect him to know who William McKinley was. I was surprised that he could actually name William McKinley. That threw me off. But the stuff, he was talking about dropping the income tax. But then something hit me as I was watching this. I was like, you know what? This is only 5% more crazy than the stuff that I hear in actual barbershops. I've heard like the wildest conspiracies you can think of.
Yeah.
And speaking of conspiracies, I saw Coach C commented, "Hey, hi," but I saw a lot of people talk about fraud and recounts in this election. People, please stop. I just no. We don't have to do this again. All right. We just spent 5 years talking about how insane the Republicans were for stuff like this. We can drop this. Kamala Harris lost every single swing state by decent margins. No amount of fraud caused that. Okay. No, it didn't happen.
Yeah. And I think that's something too. I've thought about, going forward, and I understand that. I understand that looking at the map and watching it light up the way it did and watching things go the way it did, it didn't make sense to us. We were sitting there, we were like, what the hell just happened? But also, I've thought about going forward. I was like, I don't want to be them and I don't want to react like them.
Yeah.
And, and I know they're sitting back flexing right now and they're laughing at guys like us, but we're going to get in the trenches. We're going to look at things. I saw a comment go by a while ago. Someone said, I'll check back later when you're not doing an autopsy report.
It's necessary, right?
I understand,
do we want more murders or not? Yeah,
it is. So it is, but we just gotta, I know right now, and I want the listeners to understand this. I understand that everyone, like TJ said earlier, you feel the way you feel, and you may feel sad, you may feel heartbroken, you may feel angry, you may feel rage, whatever you feel. Go ahead and feel that. And if you need to take a break from politics, put your phone down for a while. Go walk your dog, hug your kids, go to a movie, do something else. There's nothing wrong with any of that. But we do have to, as we're going forward, realize that, I said this in my video so many times, so I have to practice what I preach. I used to say about MAGA. I used to say this all the time. I go, why can't they go back to the drawing board and come up with some good ideas? Why can't they come back? Why can't they reflect? Well, they went back to the drawing board and just came out with their hatred doubled down. They didn't. So in order to practice what I preach, I have to now say, okay, well, let's go back to the drawing board and let's figure out what we do moving forward. Because I honestly, like, as far as how I felt, I have been numb ever since Tuesday. Like I haven't cried. Like I haven't cried. I haven't really done anything other than I've just had this big long pause of just kind of a numbness. Like, wait, okay, let me really think on this as I go forward. And again, everybody out there has a right to feel how you feel right now. Because we're headed into uncertain times, and it's scary, and you have every right to be afraid. I mean, I'm not here to be hyperbolic, but you do. So we have to put our heads together and we have to stand together. And what I've said so many times since then is that we're going to have a president on January 20th that considers us the enemy from within. Mm-hmm. So we don't need to be enemies with each other. We need to work with each other. And, there's been so many times I've stumbled across your videos and you said something that at first kind of took me back, and I went, what? Like, where's he going with this? And by the end of the video, I'm like, dang, he's got a point, and I think that's what we need to do. We need to listen to people, hear their ideas, and figure out how we move forward and how we bounce back.
Yeah, that's like, I just can't stress what Brandon said about the resiliency enough. I just can't, because look, when we're talking about the situation now, the Republicans went through something similar in 2008 and 2012. If you would have talked to a Republican voter in 2008 and 2012, they thought the party was over. They thought it was done. Like Barack Obama massacred Mitt Romney. Then they said, oh, man, I'm not Mitt, but John McCain. And then the election, then Mitt Romney came, which they thought they were going to win. In fact, 2012 is kind of perfect example on the reverse. Like the Republicans thought they had 2012 in the bag. Like they really thought the internal showed Romney would win, and it wasn't particularly close. And the Republicans they announced that we're doing a Republican Party autopsy, and they said we're going to go out and try to bring in Hispanic voters. And then they went and got Donald Trump and won. And it, oddly enough, ended up getting the Hispanic voters eventually. We're in a weird way. They actually ended up getting them eventually. But the thing with this is, like you mentioned, that people are scared. And like I said, you're scared. It's terrifying. But what are you going to do next? That's all I have to say when they talk about like their emotions and how they feel and how they're terrified. All right, we got it. What's step two? Because I mean, I people are talking about moving. Hey, this is I fully support freedom of movement. You guys, if you want to leave the country, you want to be a part of this, I don't blame you. I'll tell you one thing, my ass ain't going anywhere.
Yeah,
This is my country. I was born here. I love this country. I'm going to fight to make it a better place. And I don't fault anyone for moving. I just will not be in your number. I care about this place too much to let it go without a fight. That's how I see it.
Yeah, and I appreciate you saying that, man. I really do, because that's how I feel about it. And I had a lot of people and a lot of creators had this happen. We had a lot of people who unsubscribed the night of the election. We saw a drop for a little bit, but we saw some new people coming back, and some people coming back that just got upset for a minute and had to walk away. But I understand that. I've told them there's no hard feelings for me. I totally get it. But I'm with you. It's like, okay, let's get to step 2, because we know what step 1 is. Let's go ahead and get to step 2. And I said before this all happened, I was like, I truly feel like we're on the right side of history. And either way you slice it, the way I looked at it was like, okay, I'm going to wake up on November 6th, and I'm either going to be doing content about, Kamala Harris as president versus, being prepared for Project 2025 to rear its ugly head again. Or I would be talking about Project 2025 happening in real time. It's like one way or the other. It's like, no matter what I've said, as long as I really love what I do and believe in what I do, and I'm always going to be doing it. So I have people say, how's your content going to change now? Well, I'm going to find new ways going forward, but I'm still going to be calling it out. We're still going to be talking, because I feel like it's important to have the conversations.
Yeah. I don't blame it, because for about 10 minutes, I felt the same. It's like, man, I've had this thought plenty of times with doing content, and way before, bad times when Donald Trump wins elections or something like that. But I'll be talking about, I don't know, top marginal tax rates or something, and then people will come in with flat earth. It's okay. What am I doing here? Why am I wasting my time with this stuff here? I'm trying to get actual stuff done, only to be dealing with wild conspiracists and everything. But it goes away. People, we've all had you're on dating apps and you delete the dating app, you go right back. We've all done this. And so right now they're in the delete the dating app phase. But if you are so made that you are deep into following political content, it's not going to change. It's not going to stop, because the only alternative you have is you can just leave, you can just check out, or you can quit. Which I don't see as an option for most people. And it's not one I would take if I even had it. But you're staying with this fight, or you're just going to sit back and let it happen. And I don't think I'm going to do that.
Yeah, I totally agree. And like I said, I think a lot of people, I could see the emotions running high on that night and people stepping away for a minute. But, my argument is this: if you step completely out of the argument, I think one of the reasons that got us to this whole point is, we grow up and people always says, don't talk politics, don't talk religion.
Yep.
I think not talking politics and not talking religion is what got us in the mess we're in. I think I think not having the conversation. But you made an interesting point going back to 2012. I wanted to touch back on that for a second, because I actually said to a friend of mine back then, I said, I don't know if when Obama won 2012, I was like, I don't know if we'll see a Republican win again, because he just, I was like, it's over. I was like, the Republican Party is done. And if you think about it, they kind of were, because what come next was Trump.
Yeah.
Which is a completely, he completely reshaped and rebranded the Republican Party, but that's what it took to bring them back. They had to get a populist, because I don't, if Hillary Clinton had just been if it had been Hillary Clinton versus like Jeb Bush, which is kind of what I figured we would see. I thought, okay, we'll probably just see in 2016. I thought we'll see Hillary Clinton, Jeb Bush, and Hillary will get it, or one of those two. I thought, but I really, it took that populist dude coming from the outside to bring them back, or otherwise, I don't think we'd be talking about him. I mean, I think we would have had a Democratic president for a long time.
It's hard.
2012 was definitely a moment where I really thought it was over in 2012.
Because that's like, I can't stress that enough. Is that we've been in every political party over the years has been in place of this before. The Democrats, Republicans have been around a long time. They find a way to survive, and I know that with Project 2025, I don't do a lot of content about Project 2025. I don't think I've done one video on it, and it's not because Project 2025 isn't dangerous and not a problem, but Project 2025 is just the same stuff Republicans have been saying for 40 years. This is what I've been stressing to people, that if you look back like Project 2025, there was a Project 2021. There was like
Mhm.
a Project, 19. They going back to the 1980s. They've been updated. Like Project 20, it may not have been called Project 2021, but
Yeah.
it's been kind of updates of the same document that they've been just adding to over the years. The Republicans have always wanted to centralize power with the executive. They've always wanted to legislate through the courts. This is just stuff that they've always wanted a Christian nationalist nation. So like that's why I was kind of afraid of the Project 2025 branding, because let's say that they get rid of it, they're just going to name it something else. Like
Yeah,
the problem
exactly.
is not the name Project 2025. The stuff is what's all in it that we need to be attacking, and
Yeah.
I'm going to be attacking that either way. And it's going to be hard or it's going to be easy, but I'm still going to do it. I
Yeah.
I don't agree with the just sitting back and feeling sorry for ourselves that this
Mhm.
happened, because that's tomorrow, that's not going to change anything, or just throwing up our hands and saying, well, I guess we just can't that's true. Whenever I hear people say stuff like this is I don't want to make any of your listeners mad, but
No,
people
you're
say
good.
that the reason that GLS says, well, she's a woman and that's why she lost. Okay, so don't allude to this. If you're going to be out there saying, well, the only reason Harris lost because she's a woman, say what you mean. Say we should not nominate a woman again, because that's what you mean. Just say it, but they don't. But they just allude to it. It's like, no, what is your point here? Like, I'm tired of step ones. You're giving excuses and not solutions. I want solutions. Sitting around complaining about the excuses doesn't get you anywhere. And I'm seeing way too much of that. Like, get back in the game, folks. That's all I'm trying to say here.
No, I get it. I totally get it. And we always have to get to that step too, because step one's obvious.
Yes.
And we know what the obvious ones are. And I have seen a lot of comments go by, and I've seen people talking about her being a woman, or we lost because we ran two women. But I don't know. Honestly, I'll be, after I saw the results come in and the way things went, and them getting the Senate and everything. It's like I sat back and looked at it, and I was like, I don't know if there was a Democratic candidate anywhere that could have pulled it off.
I agree.
In this political climate. That's why
I agree.
I think Kamala Harris ran a great campaign. I think she did good
for what she was handed.
Yeah.
Harris did a decent job. I had plenty of complaints. Tacking on with the Cheney family, I thought was one of the worst decisions ever. That didn't get any results out of it. But the problem, I don't think there's anything that the Democrats got. Looking at what happened, like a massacre on that range, up and down. The Republicans getting the popular vote, which I would have bet my house would never happen again in my lifetime, or at least the next 20, 30 years. So, so like I don't think there's anything. I don't think that her calling for an arms embargo or a ceasefire would have stopped it. I don't think her picking a different VP would have stopped it. I don't think her reaching out more to the left base would have stopped it. I don't think Biden staying would have stopped it. The problem is like deeply entrenched in the messaging and the culture of the Democratic Party. And that's going to take time to change. And the Democratic Party has made the calculated move to say, we are going to craft and frame our messaging to appeal to college educated suburbanites. And we're going to speak like them. We're going to act like them. We're going to talk like them. And that we're going to rely on that base to move us forward. Donald Trump accidentally stumbled into appealing to non-college age voters, which is a major divide. And now he's taking the working class away from Democrats, and that's not a good sign. And like if you're just going to sit around and talk about how bad these people are, that doesn't help us get those voters back. You have to craft the messaging and the culture, which is going to be difficult, but you got to craft the messaging and the culture. You don't. By the way, I am not saying, like, for example, that's going on like this, but for example, I don't like the phrase white privilege. I've never liked it not because white privilege doesn't exist. It absolutely does. However, whenever you say it, you immediately put someone on their back foot, like a white person on their back foot. And they think, oh, well, are you saying my life is easy? No, I'm not saying your life is easy because you're white. I'm saying that being white doesn't make your life more difficult, that there's specific issues that like black people face. Now, when you go down step two, when you get to step two, they're like, oh, okay, I get it now. Why start at step one then? Like, why start there? And so just changing the messaging line, and this doesn't, and this is one of the first TikTok videos I made, the first one that got like any attention. And someone's like, well, we shouldn't have to coddle white people. I know. You're right. We shouldn't.
Yeah.
but I'm sorry. Like I am like, I wish I had better news for you. I wish that we lived in a different world, but I got to deal with the world as it is, not how I would like it to be. So, this doesn't mean you capitulate and say, well, actually there's no difference, that there's no issues that black people face. Like, no, you don't lie. You don't, pamper white people, but you do change the messaging so it's not off-putting. That's all I'm trying to say.
Exactly. And I want to let everyone know that I'm so glad to have TJ here as my guest. You're mainly on TikTok these days. Is that where you're mainly at?
Yeah, TikTok and
Good.
on YouTube. I have Powers Not Taken on YouTube, and YouTube channel The Left Wing Pod with John Cooper of Counterpoint Politics is where you can find us.
Awesome. Yeah. Be sure to go find him because we need to just, like I said, I think we need to listen to more ideas and hear people out. And I think what you said there about the white privilege, I've used that line and immediately offended people that I said it to. The minute I say it, and now I'm trying to dig myself back out of the hole.
Exactly.
Because I remember one time the one that really jumps out at me, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine and I said that phrase, and he was a good friend who had came from a very, very poor county in Kentucky. I mean, he had really grew up rough and hard, and so it was immediately like, wait, you're saying I'm privileged? It was like, he's already on the defensive. And that it was like, it took me a long time to get around to my point to where he was finally going, oh, okay, well, I see what you were saying. So, a lot of times I try to steer clear of those too, because they're kind of like buzzwords and phrases that kind of just makes people, they react really quick. And then you have a hard time getting back to the point that you were trying to make. So, yeah, I've always, that one's always stuck out of my mind because it was just such a knee jerk. The minute I said it, I realized I was going to be in for a long conversation.
I know.
Trying to dig myself back out of the hole and make the point I was trying to make.
Yeah, you wander into enough holes and pitfalls in conversation all the time. You don't need to it. The way I saw it is that if I'm always having to clarify the statement, I'm just going to skip the statement. I'm going to get right to the clarification. And now this is where the Republicans have an advantage, is that conservatism doesn't require any deep thinking at all. It just doesn't. And so their messaging is really punchy and really folksy or common sense, and that it doesn't make you like, there are only two genders. Boom, easy, intuitively true. And so, you want to avoid these as much as possible by, speaking like a regular person and being clear and not coming off as snotty and arrogant. That's where my problem comes in, but it's just, it's hard, but yeah, we have to find a way to do it. Otherwise you're going to be left behind.
Yeah. So, man, I got a question. So how did you get started doing this type of content? What was it? What was the moment where you started and how did it come about?
Oh boy. So I got out of the Army in 2021, in September 2021. And I had been planning on trying to do something, because like the way I sound and how I talk, this is how the people who are unfortunate know me in real life. This is how I've been since I was a teenager. I just can't help but just launching into these opinions and stuff. So I just said, I'm going to give it a shot and see how it goes. And I wanted to do YouTube videos at first, but I didn't have a setup or anything, but I did have a phone. And I said, okay, so I tried on TikTok and I did a video just in my basement. I just remember I was doing laundry and I just started talking to conservatives and asking some kind of question. And the first video I made that ever got anywhere, I was talking about, I don't know if you saw that story. There's a Confederate flag in Minnesota that they won when they fought the Virginia Army, and how Minnesota still has the flag and they won't give it back. It's very funny to me. And so I did a video on that. And then I did a video about white privilege. That was the second video that got any attention. Back in those days, I did my videos on my way to work, to and from work. I was just driving my truck and I would just record, and people said, hey man, that's dangerous. You're right, it's kind of dangerous. And so I stopped doing it that way, but that was kind of my thing. But I've just always been interested in politics. I grew up listening to right-wing radio when I was a kid. I was a Rush baby. I listened to Rush Limbaugh every single day. Wow. And awful as a person Rush Limbaugh was, great broadcaster. Like the guy had talent. I can see why he made it so far. And we wouldn't find him funny, but if you're a conservative, you find Rush Limbaugh very funny. Like the stuff that he said did make people, and I saw the value in disarming people with humor. Although I think I'm funnier than Rush Limbaugh, but it's like if you want to talk to someone who may not agree with you or may be on the fence about you, if you can, you ever have someone insult you, but the insult makes you laugh? And
Yeah.
it's hard to be mad at that person, right? It's hard
Yeah.
to be mad at someone when you're laughing at what they say. So
Yeah.
if you do have the gift, if you have a way to be humorous, use it as much as you can. Be humorous and be interesting, and people will listen to you. This is honestly, this is what works for Donald Trump. I hate to say it. Trump is funny. I know people don't like
Yeah.
it when I say it, but the man is legitimately funny. Not good. I always got to defend. He's not a good person or anything, but
Yeah.
he does have good comedic timing, and he does low ball jokes that make people laugh, and his charisma is what attracts people. If it worked for Donald Trump, it can work for you. That's all I'm saying, folks.
Yeah, and I've noticed something too. If you stand up for what you believe in, and you're confident about it, and you throw in humor on top of it, even the people. I mean, I have people who have trolled me for years, but
Yes.
they're dedicated every time to see what I'm going to say, and I know they watch the whole video because they'll comment on something I said 7 minutes in. So it's like they sit there and they watch it, but but they wouldn't they'll sit and listen to me or you for a 10-minute YouTube video, or sit here and listen to us for an hour, but they're not going to sit and listen to like you were saying, that computerized style of politician. They're not going to entertain that for 5 minutes. And so for even a few seconds. So I think again, what I said earlier, I think if the Democratic establishment would focus more on pro-democracy channels and go out and do podcasts with people. And we're not saying necessarily, I saw a comment go by earlier, said no one should ever go on Aiden Ross to do that, sniff seats and stuff. Yeah, we shouldn't platform people like that. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying, I think it would have been good to see more Democratic politicians on stuff like Brian Tyler Cohen or different people out there who's putting out good content and talking to people in a more non-computerized way, like pre-programmed kind of way.
Yeah, I know. And I've already seen comments, people saying Trump's not funny. This would happen. Listen, all right. I understand if you don't think Trump is funny. I get it. Like, humor is subjective. I understand that. Good for you that you don't think Trump is funny. Okay. It doesn't change that millions of people do. And this is where, once again, where I come down on, you can look down on people like, oh, they find Rush Limbaugh and Donald Trump funny. All right. That's a step one. Okay. The step two is what I'm worried about. Once again, every problem comes down to people focusing on the goddamn step one. What is the step two? I don't care if you don't think they're funny. They are using humor and it is working. Humor does not mean you need to be a bigot. Humor does not mean you need to be cruel. Humor does not mean you need to punch down. In fact, I say Donald Trump is the only funny right-wing comedian. Like, if I think most right-wing comedians aren't even using comedy, they just use clapter or whatever. But the hate watching, I'm so glad you brought that up, because I have so many people who, over the years, I've noticed, I've been like 2.5 years now, and like the conservatives who just like launch into tirades and they'll just go in on this stuff. And I remember thinking, like, why do you do this? I sure as heck do not follow a bunch of right-wing creators.
I thought that same thing.
I was like, why are you doing this with your time? But you know what? I appreciate them, because those who stick around, I'm going to get them. If you stick around, you watch enough content and I've seen it happen. I'm sure you have too, where it's like, man, I first heard what you said. I thought you were crazy, it starts slow. First, it'll be like, look, I don't agree with this guy, but he makes some decent points, or I like how he thinks. And I like it when people say, like, conservatives are like, I disagree with everything you say, but I can understand that you're a really smart person. I like when they say that, because I never say it back. Like, this feeling only goes one way, my buddy. I'm sorry to tell you this, but there's a reason you're following me and I'm not following you. Okay, there's a very good reason for this, but they stick around long enough. It may not be today, may not be tomorrow, may not be next month, but eventually I'm going to move them. And it happens a lot, because when you're saying stuff that's true and you feel it with conviction, like you were saying, and you use any type of humor or personable nature at all, it's going to win folks over. And that's what we're trying to say about politicians. It's not that I'm saying that Democratic politicians are lying or being disingenuous or anything like that. It's that they don't sound like people. They sound like machines. And that's all we're trying to get at.
Exactly. Here. I had a guy walk up to me. I was in a Walmart, and this guy comes walking up, and I could tell the way he's kind of coming up slowly, but I could tell he was about to ask me who I was. I could just feel it coming. And he's like, hey, are you Brando? And I was like, yeah, it's me. And so he reaches to shake my hand, and as we're shaking hands, he's like, I listened to you on TikTok and YouTube. And I was like, oh, cool, thanks. And I still got his hand in mine, and he goes, he's like, I don't agree with the thing you say. And I was like, hey, he's like, but man, he's like, you make me think, and I just wanted to thank you for that. And I was like, well, dude, that's one of the best compliments I could get. I appreciate that. The fact that you don't agree with nothing I say, but you take time to listen. You took time to walk up and say, I don't agree with you, but I appreciate, you make me think. And I was like, that's all I'm trying to do. Just trying to make people think and hear where I'm at. I'm definitely in the minority. I mean, where I live, what's funny, where I live, man, it's like I know all the blue dots on a first name basis. It's like I know all the progressive on a first name basis. We found each other. So I know my views aren't popular, but there's a lot of people around here that will, I don't agree with him. I wish he would just go back to playing music and quit talking this stuff, but he kind of made a point there. He made me think there. And if I have someone say you made a point or you made me think, then that's what I'm here trying to do.
Absolutely.
So yeah, we got a few more minutes here, and we're going to be hanging out for a few more. Again, I want to thank TJ for coming on. He is power is taken, not given on TikTok. And if anyone has any questions, go ahead and throw them at us. We'll try to catch a few before we close out. But we're just, we've been talking about, how to move forward and how to reflect. And again, I think it's important to let people know, like TJ said at the start of the show, if you just tuned in, it's okay to feel whatever emotion you're feeling. It's okay to be upset, angry, sad, heartbroken, scared, whatever the word is. It's okay to feel all of that. But now we got to go to step 2. Go ahead, feel that, experience it, get out of your system. If you need to take a break, I always tell people, step away from it for a minute if you need to. Clear your head. But we just get back and we fight harder. I saw Kamala concede, and I had mixed. I've had mixed emotions about her conceding. Not that I don't think she should have. It's not that. Mm-hmm. It's hard to watch. I don't know how you feel about this, but it's
gonna be good. Let's go.
It's really hard to watch them be respectful to Trump. It's just,
yes.
Because I view him. I mean, I'm sorry, he's an insurrectionist in my mind. He's a felon. He's a rapist. He does not deserve to be honored at all. And it's like I see the memes float by that that she called to congratulate him. They'll be meeting at the White House to talk about the peaceful transfer of power. And I don't know, man. That I can't lie. That part just makes me sick to my stomach.
Yes, it bothers me so much. That actually bothers me more than anything else. Donald Trump, he lost the election, threw a fit like a baby, had an insurrection at the Capitol, was okay with his vice president getting hanged, spent 4 years, didn't attend the inauguration of his successor, spent 4 years tearing down our institutions on a day-to-day basis, charged with 91 crimes, convicted on 34 of them, and still won. He's going to die a winner, and that bugs me. I got to tell you, it does. I have no problem admitting it really bugs me. And not only is he going to die a winner, he gets the satisfaction of everyone else following the rules. And this is an uncomfortable part of life. So I don't know about everyone else out there, but I am an atheist. I don't make any bones about it. I don't believe that there's any gods or any, some sort of cosmic justice whenever this life is over. But in times like these, I do understand where a lot of people have to, because it is the fact that Donald Trump will never be punished for his myriad of infractions against humanity is not fair at all. And this is folks, sometimes the bad guys win. Sometimes they win. And Donald Trump is one of the bad guys who won. And I hate it. I hate it a lot. And I would love if I would kind of love it if the Democrats said, no, we're not going to go to your inauguration. We're not going to congratulate you. We're not going to concede. In fact, I've had thoughts like this where whenever a Republican talks about this election, I'll be like, oh no, the Republicans just cheated. No, Kamala actually won. No, this is a rigged. I thought about giving them the taste of their medicine, but I can't do it. I couldn't sleep at night doing something like that. Yeah, but
I feel the same way, and it's just hard. I understand that there's the angle of looking at it that, okay, we're being the bigger person here. We're doing what he should have did the first time.
Yeah.
But it's just the fact that he got that, like you said, and I'm not a believer either. So I don't see there being justice on the other side. I think and I'm not going to get into a religious discussion, but I'm just saying when someone ends an argument by telling me I'll pay for it in the afterlife, it's like, well, it's not. I mean, okay, we'll see.
I'll let you know how it is.
I'll let you know. Let me know if you make it and come back. But it's funny too. My grandmother was a believer, but she used to say something that would crack me up, and she's not with us anymore. But if she was, I'm sure she would probably say something similar about Trump. Is she was like. She used to say this about her belief system. She was like, she's like, the one problem I have is that this guy could be this horrible of a person, but if he asks his forgiveness at the last moment, he's going to be rewarded for eternity. She's like, I want to see him get punished. And so, I mean,
it's a good question, Grandma. Like,
yeah, it really,
it
really is. But we, it just, I don't know. It's hard for me to sit back. This is the hard part for me, is to watch him be honored in any way or called Mr. Yeah, he deserved to go out as shamed as possible. But man, there was a lot of people this go around, the part I'll never understand, and I know a lot of people are wanting recounts, and they're saying the numbers don't make sense. But we're hearing that I've heard the number be different. So if I'm quoting the wrong number, I apologize in advance. But I've heard like 24 million is the number I heard of people that didn't show up to vote.
Was it 24? Wow.
Well, I've also heard 18, and
so it's 50. So Harris, last I saw, Harris had 67 million votes, and Biden got 81, so that'd be 14 million, and Trump had like 71 last time. He got 74. That'd be about 17. But those numbers are going to change as more and more votes come in. But it's going to be over 10 million people probably.
Yeah, but a whole lot of people didn't show up, which makes me scratch my head and go, if you saw the urge to vote in 2020 and you thought, okay, we really got to get this guy out of here. And then you saw what happened on January 6th. And then you saw him become a convicted felon. You saw him be found liable of sexual abuse. You saw all those things. Why wouldn't you stay more energized to vote for him in 2020 or vote against him in 2024?
Well, because you see, Brandon, eggs are more expensive in 2024 than they are in 2020. This is like, I saw someone comment in the video, is like, the thing you got to realize about this country is that there are millions of people who would step on their mother's neck to save 10 cents on a gallon of milk. And look, once again, that's a step one. It's funny or whatever. It's a step one, but you still get to the step two. And this is also the Republicans and actually conservatives, because the conservative media sphere in general has done a honestly impressive job with how they have manipulated media to just lie on a consistent basis with zero impunity and zero shame. Just not caring at all if something is remotely true, or even twisting narratives so that it doesn't matter. That of course things cost more now than they did 4 years ago. I guarantee life was cheaper under Obama than it was under Trump. That's not what made Obama a better president. There's a lot of stuff that goes into this, but you can easily trick people with this kind of thing. And I don't know, it's just it's going to be hard to combat it, because we have the feeling that we need to go high all the time. And it's hard to explain how to go low exactly, because like going low is Donald Trump. Like only Donald Trump could get away with the actions that he did. Like I don't think any other Republican can get away with like the criminal activity Donald Trump got away with, but he did. He did.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And I've often made this comparison. Like I watch boxing a lot, so I end up making a lot of boxing analogies. But and I'm in no way, I want people to understand, I'm in no way comparing Donald Trump to Muhammad Ali when I say this. But Muhammad Ali had styles of, he started off with the float like a butterfly, sting like a bee approach, and ran backwards with his guard down, which had never been seen before. I mean, experts back then said he's going to get knocked out. This kid's going to get killed doing this, but it worked for him. He could make it work. Then later on, when he came back from his exile, he came back, won the title against Foreman. For the later years of his career, he used the rope-a-dope strategy, where he would just stay on the ropes and let someone punch themselves out. It worked for him. There were many boxers that came later that tried to do the float like a butterfly and got knocked stupid. They would try to do the rope-a-dope and got beat to the floor. And so I think there's going to be people, Trump's going to be around for a while longer, unfortunately, but I think there's going to be people who's going to try that act on for size, and they're going to get knocked out. I don't think it's not going to work for them. It's not going to work. We saw some people try it already. And, I think if we were waking up to, if right now you and I was sitting here talking about Kamala Harris and Tim Walz being president-elect, I think, the Matt Gaetzes, the Lauren Boeberts, the Marjorie Taylor Greens, they're clowns. They're no one's going to ever take them seriously. And when they try the Trump act on for size, they're just going to get knocked out.
They'll be like Ron DeSantis.
Yeah, exactly. Ron DeSantis is another one. So I think people like that, they're going to try that style on for size. And once it's time for Trump to go on, that someone will try that act on for size, but I don't think it would work for any other Republican politician. And definitely if a Democratic politician tried any of those things, they would fall flat on their face. So, it's oh
man, like the trying to be Trump, it's just like, it's not going to happen. You're not going to get anyone else like Trump ever again. It's just I don't know. I wrote down 104, and I have no idea why. I have to keep little notes whenever I'm doing this, and I wrote down
Yeah.
104. I had a good point. I have no clue what it meant, but I have no clue. It was a good point. It was something you were talking about with someone trying to imitate and being like Muhammad Ali and float like a butterfly, staying like a bee. And I can't remember what it was, but yeah, it's like watching these people try to clone themselves to be Donald Trump. Like JD Vance can't be Donald Trump. No. Ted Cruz can't be Donald Trump. And it's like the Democrats, like there's not going to be anyone else that's going to be like that, but you just have to capture the energy. Like I said for a long time that like Jon Stewart, if Jon Stewart would have run for president 4 years ago or this time, he would have been a great, not that I assume his policies would be decent, but just because he has the personality. And people joke that elections are a little more than personality contests. That's because that's precisely what they are. People, they say this with Harris, like, well, Harris is the most qualified person to run for office. People, let me break some news to you. How qualified you are does not matter when you're running for president. It's never mattered. Okay. No way. People vote on the person and the vibes they get from them. Like Barack Obama was not more qualified than Hillary Clinton. All right. And he crushed her. And he was not more qualified than John McCain, and he crushed him. It's like you can find dozens of examples of this. Like when people get to office, it's like Dwight Eisenhower was the general of an army. That does not qualify to be president of the United States. Okay, it doesn't. All right, that they're very different jobs, and so you can say that about most presidents. And if qualification was the most important thing, incumbents would never lose. Vice presidents would never lose. It's like we can't focus on the stuff like,
that's a great point.
Yeah, it's like focus on the
Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan's another one.
Actor. Yeah, Ronald Reagan like destroyed Mondale and Carter. Had no business being president. He wasn't governor, but I mean, he was. It's just I don't know. It's like we focus on these ancillary things that don't matter. And I wish they did, but they don't. We have to really live in the real world.
Yeah, we do. It's it's crazy. It's one of those things that people don't understand that they say to themselves, that they think that if well, I'm sorry, I got distracted and completely tongue tied. I had a moment like you had where
I know I'm so
you're trying to remember
this too. I can't remember what it was.
but no, there's people that thinks well, like you said, you automatically think the most qualified person would be the one for the job, but that's not how the average voter is going to look at who resonates with them or whatever it is they're going through. And while we may not find it funny, while we may find it completely disgusting or think they're moronic for doing it, I mean, whatever the case may be, it's still, if it resonates with them, they're going to go for it.
Yeah, Melissa, it should. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, real quick, I was going to say, someone said that being qualified should matter, and you're right.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah. in any other world, it should matter, but
it should, but. So what? It doesn't. I mean, we can't. We're not doing ourselves any favors by saying, "Well, this is the way the world should be," unless we have a plan to make it that way. I don't know if there's a way to make it that way, because like elections are, the taller, better-looking man usually wins the election. That's just true. That's it's just. I wish that weren't the case. I wish it weren't, but I mean, like we gotta live in reality here.
Yeah, and I mean, when you said that about Obama and McCain, I mean, Obama come out, he didn't have the experience McCain had. He really didn't. But when he shook hands, like when they did the debate and he shook hands and he's looking down at McCain, he's the taller, better looking dude.
Oh yeah,
he could talk, he could resonate with people. And we were coming out of those dark Bush years, and so he resonated with people that were tired of that. So I did see a comment go by a long time ago that I started to grab, but I wouldn't really ready to have that conversation yet. But it's a good question, so I don't know if that person's still hanging around. But they were saying, who would be on the horizon in 2028, or if we have an election. I mean, I hate to say that.
I know, right?
But who could be on the Democratic side of the aisle a contender or someone that could step up and bring a light in the middle of the dark?
Well, I think it's impossible to guess 4 years out. I mean, the easy answer would be someone like Gavin Newsom. He's been running for president for the last 10 years or so. But who knows? Anything could happen. There was a time when people thought, what's his name, Cuomo was going to run, and that fell apart immediately. Yeah. So Ron DeSantis, everyone, not me, a lot of people were saying Ron DeSantis is going to be the person on top. But here's my recommendation on who should run for president. Anyone within the sound of my voice. Because if Donald Trump has taught me anything, if I've learned anything in the 10 years that Donald Trump has been in our political environment, have no shame at all about going for your job. Now you're not going to have the advantages Donald Trump has. You're not going to be a well-known celebrity born with a silver spoon in your mouth, millions of dollars in your bank account. All right, fine. Have the audacity. Just do it. I've often said we should just run as Republicans. Just say that you're a Republican. Like, you don't got to do any research. You don't got to do any study. You just got to say Satan's coming after your kids and I'm going to stop him, and you'll get half the Republican votes. Like, just do it. Why not at this point? If you've seen the people that they elect, they're not going to study and look into you. So just do it. Why not? Just go for it. Anyone listening is like, yeah. Oh yeah, in fact, I lied about something I said earlier, but I'm sorry that your qualifications don't matter to be president. They actually do. The ones that matter, you're a natural born American citizen and you're 35 years old. If you hit those two, boom, run for president. You're qualified. Congratulations.
Yeah, I've saw a lot of comments go by of people that names there is a lot of good voices on our side, and I feel good about that. I've saw people saying Gavin Newsom. There's people that said Pete Buttigieg, different ones that are great voices, and I think, but I do think we're going to have to go back to the drawing board and work on reaching out to to those people that we missed. And like you said, stop sounding computerized. There's times, what's funny, there's times that I've saw politicians, I'm sure you have too, can't necessarily think of an example off the top of my head, but there's times where someone is starting to come up and they do have that natural feel. Mm-hmm. And then the deeper they get in the system, all of a sudden they're doing that pre-programmed answer. It's like they just sort of morph into that. And then you kind of go, oh, I used to like that guy because he kind of was like the down to earth dude. One person that I feel like was able to maintain and never lost that was Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter, and I saw someone say Jimmy Carter didn't live to be 100 to see this shit.
I know,
and I agree. But Carter was one that was able to maintain the human nature more so than anyone else. I mean, I think a lot of them, So if we find someone who can resonate with people, and because Kamala had plans, she had good plans. She had good ideas. But the Democrats were in charge. People had to blame somebody, and Donald Trump spent ever since he left. Well, actually, he campaigned the whole time he was in office. That's the thing too. When Trump was in office, every time anything happened, he was on a microphone talking about how great it was, even if it wasn't. He was still doing it. Yeah.
This is something I say all the time. I say this all the time about Donald Trump, is that Donald Trump is a born marketer. That's like he was born to do this, to spread propaganda and to, blow himself up in front of the population. Whenever the stock market went up, he was in front of a camera. Whenever unemployment dropped a quarter of a point, he was in front of a camera. And what I bring up is that if you ask people, if you ask like 10 Democrats and 10 Republicans, ask them, when was the stock market at its all-time high? I bet almost all the Republicans and probably half the Democrats would say something like, oh yeah, during Trump's administration. No, it was at its all-time high during Biden's. About black unemployment. But I feel like Donald Trump talked about the fact that black unemployment was at an all-time low half of his administration. It was true. It was a true statement. Now, it was misleading because black unemployment had been falling at a steady rate. Falling at a steady rate for 8 years by the time Trump got in office, and he happened to be there when it hit its lowest point. It was still true, and it's good politics to go out there and say it. It hit an even lower point under Joe Biden. Unemployment was lower under Joe Biden. I didn't see him on TV every week talking about it. I just didn't. And same with the stock market. Now, people will say, well, that's because Biden knows that these metrics are misleading. I don't care. Like, good job. You're honest about it, about the complexities of it, but just market yourself. That's what works on people. And Democrats need to do that a lot more.
Yeah, I'm seeing some comments go by of people telling me that Jimmy Carter is still alive. I know that. I don't know what. I don't know what some people are saying. He's alive.
You said. Oh, I see what they're saying, because you said you heard someone say Jimmy Carter didn't live to 100 to see this, and they misheard you thinking he died, like he didn't live to see it. Okay. Yeah, that's probably what they meant. Yeah, they're saying it's a shame he lived to see this. That's what he's saying. Yeah, that's what he's saying, folks. They misheard you. I
saw the meme that said Jimmy Carter didn't live to be 100 to see this shit. I know he's still here.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry.
Folks, No, you did fine conveying that. I don't know. I just I swear, like I like doing social media and stuff. Like sometimes you misspeak, sometimes you mess up. But man, if you've been speaking English for 10 years and you miss some of the, have you heard some of this? Like you'll say something like, men are taller than women. And then the most annoying kid in class comes in and is like, well, I know a woman who's 6'4". Okay. Like, all right. You understand that when we speak in generalities, right? Like if I say something is fire engine red, you don't got to remind me that there are yellow fire trucks too. I freaking know. Okay. And it's like, I feel like nobody has like comprehension skills anymore. It's like this is a very boomer take of me, but I'm just so sick and tired of people pointing out, well, technically, yes. All right. If you want us to split hairs, I'll never get anything done. This is why we do this and not you. Okay. This is what I'm saying. Right? Man.
I get that stuff all the time. And I got a funny story. The other day on election day, I did a video and I didn't notice it till I went to, and when I say edit my videos, what I mean is I literally just put it in my little video shop editor and I trimmed the very beginning up to where I started talking and I trimmed the end. I put the little merch store thing. That's it. So I made a video. I felt really good about it. I came in and the way the video started off, I said, well, folks, it is what I said. I was like, well, folks, it's election day 2020. And that's what I did. Okay. So then I made like a 9-minute video. I thought it was really good. I get in there and I'm looking at the editing process. I'm like, crap. Yeah. I'm like, if I'd have misspoke in the middle of the video, someone might say, yeah, he misspoke at the 7-minute mark. You know what I mean? But I did it right out of the gate. And so I actually sat there with my editor and luckily I left myself enough breath in between because I was like, well, folks, it's election day, 2020. And, so I was able to go, well, folks, it's election day and cut it and then pick up because I was like,
you knew it.
This out, they'll never hear the rest of the video because I'll hear that misspeak. That's one of the reasons why that I never really came at, even to Trump, I never really came at him too hard over misspeaks because I just misspeak. I do it all the time. And I've said things. I know sometimes I go around a long way to get to what I'm trying to say. So it's like, sometimes people are, I know what you mean though about the fire engine analogy really cracked me up.
Oh God, it's so annoying, man. It's so annoying. It's like or you just watch these videos to find like an obvious mistake that is like, well. I saw one time I saw this article and the headline was Donald Trump makes up an African country during his speech. And I was like, whoa, what? That's wild. And so I read it and Donald Trump was talking about the country of Namibia. And there is no country of Namibia. There is a Namibia, though. And so that's what he was talking about. And so I was like, okay, he misspoke. I guarantee most people couldn't tell you. If you said, which one is real, Namibia or Namibia, most Americans wouldn't know. And so I don't know, like tiny little things like that. It irked me too, as someone who speaks a lot. And you mess up in language all the time and like pointing out those tiny little ones or technicalities that don't have anything to do, that don't change the conversation at all, I find pretty annoying.
Yeah. Well, man, go ahead.
Oh, no, one more before we close out. I was just going to tell you that an example with the election, I said that I did a video and I was doing clips and I said that the majority of Americans wanted Donald Trump to win this election. And I said, well, actually, it's not the majority of Americans, it's the majority of voters. So I didn't want someone to come in and say that. So I reshot the clip and I said the majority of voters wanted Donald Trump to be president. I still had someone say, not to split hairs here, but it's not the majority of voters. It's the majority of voters who participated in the 2024 presidential election. Go to hell. All right, go to hell. What are we doing here? You think this adds anything to the freaking conversation? Like, we understand that. I'm not talking about the majority of voters like from ancient Greece. I don't have to specify that it's like the American, but I just I don't know, man. I don't get it. Sorry. But
I appreciate everyone out there for listening. I truly do. But I do have a couple that just will always come in to go, well, actually, Brando.
They live for it. They live for it.
It's like, and I'm like, I know I was getting to that. And, that's why, like, even when I made the Muhammad Ali reference earlier, I made sure I said first, hey, listen, I'm not comparing his character to Muhammad Ali at all.
That's what it was. That's what it was. Okay. Yes.
Someone's going to chime in and go, "You're saying he's as great as Muhammad Ali?" No, I'm not. I'm just making an analogy here.
Man, I'm so glad you said that. I don't know why I wrote 104 for that, but that's the point I was going to make. That people like, if I say that, Donald Trump is the Michael Jordan of winning debates or whatever, it's like, are you saying he's great? Like, no, I'm not saying Donald Trump can dunk from the free throw line. I'm not saying I stop it. I just, oh my God, it's obnoxious.
It truly is. But I think we're gonna be spending time going back to the drawing board and reflecting on everything and moving forward. And I think that's what we have to do. I want to thank again. I want to thank you, man, TJ, so much for coming on the show. He's on
Great,
TikTok
thanks.
as Power is Taken, Not Given. And where's your YouTube channel at again?
The YouTube channel is also Power is Taken, Not Given, and also
Awesome.
the Left Wing Pod on YouTube.
All right, man. Well, we really appreciate you coming on today. I'm gonna wrap a few things up with my listeners, but you're welcome back anytime, man. I'm so glad you made it on. I was doing 9 o'clock shows, and I remember you saying that time wouldn't work out for you. So when I started doing these daytime ones, I was like, hey, I was glad you was able to make it. So
hey, if you want to come on ours next week on Thursday, I can set you up for that. All right.
All right, sure. Yeah, let's make it happen, man.
Fantastic. Thanks,
all
folks.
Right. Take care. Thank you, man.
Bye.
All right, guys, that was TJ. He's one of my favorite voices. I'm so glad I finally got to talk to him. Hope everyone enjoyed the show and had a good show. But I did want to do this before we go. I wanted to give a shout out to the new members. So we have welcomed these new members. We have Ginger, we have Colorado Citizen, we have Sue B, we have William, and we have Susan. Thank you so much for that. Also, special thanks to Jeanette for her donation. Thank you for that so much. My suggestion will be don't be naive, make a battle plan, prepare for the worst, but hope for the best. I couldn't agree more. I really appreciate your donation, and I appreciate you saying that. Also, is that Tenzay? Thank you for your donation. America's voted. The scared flock votes the wolf for protection, and cows head to the butcher for food. May we all reap what we sowed. It's going to be we're going to have a long road ahead, folks. I'm not here to say that it's always going to be easier. It's not going to be dark, but thank you so much for that. And also, Christine, thank you for your donation. We really need a nugget of hope. We look to you. Please help us come back together. We need to push to vote the midterms. You're absolutely right, and I thank you so much for that donation as well. Okay, we got some more here. Awesome. We got more. I thought I was at the end of the line, but we've also got two new members. We have Michael and Angela. Thanks for becoming members. And also, I want to say thanks to Kirk. Says, I'll say it, voter suppression via purges in key states and several others to draw back Harris' popular vote count and effectively her electoral score. I totally understand where everyone is coming from. And again, I think that even in a perfect world, let's just say that in a perfect world, we had the solid concrete evidence that we could do a recount and she could be the winner. It would probably be World War III. There's no way they would ever believe it. If you'll notice something too, this election, they didn't question it a bit. America's back. It's great. And you watch and see, they're going to say the economy is good now. They'll start now talk about how great it is. They're already doing it, that it's great because Trump's coming back. They're delusional. But yeah, let's see. Where'd I leave off? Okay. Thank you so much, Kirk, for that. Also, shout out to Simon for becoming a member for 2 months. This is the moment to resist and work even harder. I absolutely agree with you. You're right about that, Simon, and thank you for that. Kirk, also, thank you for this donation. I'll be that guy. I completely disagree. Her messaging was bad. Trump had his in the bag before Election Day with the purging. That's why Trump's performed oral on a microphone stand and didn't care. He knew he already won. I think Kamala did run a good campaign. So I can't necessarily fully agree with you that her messaging was bad. I think that there was just so many people that was willing to trade the price of eggs for their daughter's future. I hate to say it that bluntly, but that's just how I feel that was. But I thank you for your donation, and it's always like we said earlier, we're going to agree on some things, disagree on others. Trump knew he had it. I'll give you this: he knew he had it in the bag with his audience. He knew that he could have deep throated that microphone, and they would not have cared because they don't. We were thinking about democracy. We were thinking about women's rights. We was also thinking about character and human decency, and they don't have any of that. So. But again, I thank you so much for that. Also, thanks to Melanie for the super sticker. Thank you so much. Also, shout out to Sally, who gifted 1 Tennessee Brando membership. And Stay Alive. Thank you for yours. Says video segment idea. If you think you might do a list of things we should be prepared for on an individual basis, would be very useful. and I'm glad you brought across that point, and thank you for your donation. That's one of the things that I'm going to be focusing on as we move forward with my content, is reflecting on how we got here, but also how we deal with it and how we move, how we deal with it individually and how we prepare for it. I think that I'm probably, if you'll notice, we've kind of toned down my thumbnails, we've toned down the titles somewhat, and because I realize that people are sick of politics at the moment and they're scared, and they're disgusted and heartbroken. I get it, and I'm not going to be, for now, I don't plan on rolling clips of Trump saying shit, because we could bring those receipts all day. It ain't going to matter. I mean, like he said, he could shoot someone in the middle of the street and wouldn't lose a supporter. He could curb stomp a puppy. And if I showed MAGA that clip, they're not going to care. So I think it's important to focus on how we can handle things individually. And I know there's a lot of people out there worried about their future, worried about their livelihood. I know so many seniors, my parents included, who are worried about their health care, worried about their Social Security. We worry over our platforms. We all we can say is that we were on the right side of history, and all we can say is that we did our best to save American democracy, and some people was willing to trade it for eggs. It's a shame that people didn't actually do a little bit more self-reflecting and dig into anything. But what you got to understand, and I'm going to do more videos on this, I could actually write a whole book on this subject, especially where I'm from Appalachia. That's what this shirt says. It's Appalachia, like throwing apple at you. But people here are brought up in church, and they are taught to believe from an early age that Democrats are of the devil, that they're Satan himself. They're taught that, and they're taught that every problem they ever had stemmed from a Democrat. So anything you present to them, if it's got a Democrat's label anywhere near it, they're going to run from it. Like holy water, like the devil from holy water, they're going to run. I've said this so many times. I don't meet Kentuckians who love Mitch McConnell. I don't meet Kentuckians who think, oh, Mitch McConnell's a great guy. And I don't meet Tennesseans who thinks Marsha Blackburn is a great person. They just look at the opponent and go, well, at least they ain't Democrats, because that's what they've been suckered into believing. And what MAGA hasn't learned yet, they're flexing right now. A lot of people are saying things like, well, Tennessee Brando hasn't learned anything. He's still trying to sell this. You damn right I am. I'm still trying to sell it because we were on the right side of history and we tried to warn you as to what was coming. Go ahead, flex, get all lathered up, whatever you have to do. One day, the MAGA trolls that's been in this comment section is going to be on the same side with us. Maybe they won't agree with us politically, but they're going to be sitting there going, my livelihood got jerked out from underneath me. My daughter is bleeding out in an emergency room and she can't get the help she needs. My mom and dad now can't get the operations they needed. It's going to hit them. I have seen people in my lifetime, and I'm not going to throw anyone under the bus in my family, but I have seen people in my family. One time said to me when I was growing up, I'd never vote for a Democrat. All they're for is handouts. I'd get down on my knees and I would plant potatoes before I'd ever ask the government for a handout for anything. Well, he got a little bit older, got close to retirement age, and he got colon cancer, pretty severe. Suddenly he started telling me, yeah, man, there's some good programs out there to help people. And he voted for Obama. So all the people that likes to do the macho Republican rhetoric, and Donald Trump plays into that, they're going to wake up one day and realize not only did they vote against their own interest and their daughter's own interest, but if my platform's still standing here, there'll be a playlist of videos they can go back and play again and go, yeah, he was telling us that the entire time. He was trying to say, read Project 2025. This is going to affect you too. That's the part that hasn't sunk in on them just yet. That's the part they haven't sunk in on. Right now, they're just too busy flexing. Suddenly they believe in the election system again. Notice no one's complaining, and they call us crazy if we did. Right now they're flexing. Right now they think the price of eggs is going to magically drop. They may. We may see prices come down, and everybody go, oh, see, look. But they didn't look at the bigger picture. They sold out their daughters for the grocery bill. They sold out their parents for the grocery bill. They sold out American democracy for the grocery bill. So, I don't want to see them struggle. I don't want to see them go through hardships. That's why that I felt the need to sit down in this chair and have this conversation, and we'll continue to do so. Um, and I just saw the comment go by. We're not going back. We're not. You know, we are in. Okay, Kamala Harris didn't win. Okay, we're going to have to live under a president who considers us the enemy from within. We're going to have to sit under a president who may very well turn the American military on someone like me, who disagrees with him, who speaks out against him. Yeah, there very well could be dark days ahead, but we're going to continue to dig in our heels. We're going to continue to move forward, and we're going to continue to call out the bullshit, or at least I am, as long as I do still have a platform. So we've went a little bit longer than normal today. Normally I go about 45 minutes to an hour. Today we've went an hour, and we're hitting on an hour and 20 minutes. But I had my good buddy TJ on here. I'm so glad to get him on. He's one of my favorite voices over on TikTok. His power is taken, not given. I love his approach, and I saw a lot of people in the comment section saying Trump's not funny. Trump's not funny. I think I'm not going to say you missed the point, but the point is that resonates with some people, and we have to realize that it does. We realize how disgusting it is. I don't think Trump's funny. I think he's a terrible human being. I think he's disgusting. He makes me sick to my stomach. That's why I'm not going to be rolling many more of his clips. But he has a way. He was able to go out there and dupe people into throwing away everything that our founding fathers and our grandparents ever fought for. He was able to go out there and dupe them with that stupidity. And if you ever stand around, in a loading dock or wherever you're at, around a bunch of guys and hear them talk, they don't. I mean, it's not happened to them yet, so they don't care. And that's the saddest part of all of this, is it's going to have to hit them before they'll care. And it's going to hit them eventually. Like I said, they don't realize it now because they're too busy flexing and they're too busy rubbing it in our noses. But there's going to come the day that Trump is going to rub their face in their own piss. And when that day comes, they'll be looking around going, what did we do? And it will have been too late. So I know that. I mean, they just care about their own self. We are the party of we, and they're the party of me. As long as it's not affecting them, they don't care. So yeah, I'm going to close out real quick here, but want to say thanks to, I think here's where I left off. So thanks to Marie for your donation. Thank you for being authentic, intelligent, thoughtful, caring, and fair. Love and appreciate you. I love and appreciate you. Thank you so much. When it comes to the intelligent part, I've always said I barely made it out of a poor high school in Southeast Kentucky. I really did. I talk to my buddy Superman Todd all the time on the phone, and we send audio messages back and forth, and we're always using the line, we're just guys of average intelligence. I kind of feel, I appreciate the comment, I do, but sometimes I feel like the dude on Idiocracy, that movie. I just kind of feel like I'm just kind of an average guy, really, and just trying to talk some sense. But we'll keep on trying to talk sense, because we have to. We have to keep talking. We have to keep pushing. We have to keep moving the message forward, and we will. Yeah, I hope everyone out there is good. I hope everyone has a good day, and I'll have some more content coming out later today. Thank you guys so much for being here. And I'll let you guys know what my schedule is going to be like. We're still going to keep on doing what we're doing. We're still going to be pushing the message that we're pushing. We're still going to be standing up for democracy. We're still going to be standing up for women's rights. We're still going to be standing up for Black people, all people of color, people coming to this country to make a better way, the gay and trans community. We are the party of we, not me. And so we're going to be here doing that. Real quick, thanks to Steve. Steve just gifted 20 Tennessee Brando memberships. That means a lot to me. I really appreciate it. Did have some people start leaving on election night. I woke up the next morning to I'd lost like 3,000 subscribers. I talked to some of my friends. They'd lost as many as 10 to 15. It was kind of disheartening at first, but I've already saw that number come back around, and it's came back up and actually went farther. We're now at 340. Like when election night, I was at 338,000. I woke up the following morning, I was down to 335. Now we've jumped back up to 343. Did have some people cancel their memberships. I totally understand why. Then we've had other people come back, and we've had other people gift them. So again, thank you guys so much for being here. I'll let you guys know what my schedule is going to be going forward. I'm a little bit off my game in the sense of like what day it is, because the election came on a Tuesday. It's always Tuesdays, but it's like that made it feel like the weekend to me for some reason. It made it feel like that should have been Friday or Saturday. So it's odd that where we're at. We're here on Thursday, but we will just continue to keep moving forward. And like I said, we will continue to stand up for the truth and for what's right. And so, yeah, hope everyone out there has a great rest of your week, and just keep your heads up. Thank you so much for subscribing and listening to what it is I have to say. We will get through it together. We're not. Serena says she's not going anywhere. I'm not either. We're not going to go anywhere. We're going to keep moving forward. We're going to keep talking as long as we have platforms to talk on. And if I said this is the hill I'm willing to die on. I do mean that literally. So because the issues at hand are way too important to set it out. So I'm not going to be setting out anytime soon. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I'll let you know where we'll be next. And you guys have a great rest of your week. We'll make it. Always remember that. It may get dark, it may get scary, but no matter what happens, we were on the right side of history, and don't ever forget it.